Hi, my name is Sarah McNary and I'm the instructor for this course, and I'm making this short video to model one way that you could handle the All About Me Wiki project. Now, you don't have to do a video. You could easily choose to do a Prezi or a PowerPoint presentation. Anything where we can see a visual and hear your voice is going to work great. So the first question that I listed in this assignment is, why did you decide to be a teacher? Well, in my case, I think I decided back in high school. During one PE segment, we had a teacher come in and present a video on people with disabilities. And it just really captured my attention how the people who were working with those people had to really think about task analysis. After the presentation, the lady who was giving the presentation asked if anyone was interested in working with those students. And in particular, they were trying to teach them how to use sewing machines. And I already knew how to use a sewing machine, and so I volunteered. And that was my first foot in the water, if you will, to learn about teaching, and I discovered I loved it. So after I finished college, I entered a credentialed program, and my goal was actually to teach elementary school, if you can believe it. I wanted to teach third grade. And although I did get a chance to teach elementary school for my first contract, I moved quickly into high school, spent a lot of years at middle school, and then ended at high school. So I've been a high school teacher most of my life. Probably one of my most memorable learning experiences as a student would have to be back in high school again. And again, it was a PE class. This time I was at an alternative kind of high school set on a university campus where they tried all of these different creative ways to engage kids. And what they did in this case was, out in the woods, they had built this huge wall. It was like maybe, I don't know, 15 feet tall. And they took the entire PE class out there, and they said we had to figure out how to get over this wall, and no other instructions were given. And so as a group, we kind of had to figure out who was athletic and who needed help. And then people who were leaders were naturally, maybe a little more vocal. Other people, went along with it. Some people would argue. I mean, just the whole process was just very interesting to watch how it unfolded. And yes, we did make it over that wall. Absolutely awesome experience. So the thing that worked most for me in school is anytime there was a how-to. Anytime you learned something that you could actually apply in the real life setting, that works for me. What doesn't work for me is sitting in those classes, usually math classes, I'll be honest, where it's a lecture format and then maybe the professor, does this big, long, complicated equation and you're just expected to watch and somehow suck it in through osmosis and you don't even know why you're doing it in the first place. That never worked for me. My experience working with English learners has been pretty much my whole career. Generally speaking, I started in a sheltered English classroom, so I worked there. And then after I started working in special ed classrooms, a lot of kids who are second language learners will end up in a special ed classroom, sometimes misdiagnosed with a learning disability, or sometimes concurrently having a learning disability as well as a language issue. So my whole career I've been working with that. As far as my experience with different cultures, I'm actually not from the United States. Originally, I'm from Canada and grew up having a lot of friends from India, and so had a lot of experience with that culture. And then I've traveled extensively in Europe and in South America, and I just love to eat different kinds of foods, and I love to explore different kinds of cultures, so I'm naturally drawn to that. One thing I like to do in my free time, other than what I listed in my instructor getting to know you video, is I just learned how to surf. So I like to try new things. I think I have an adventurous side to me. Other than the All About Me assignment, one activity that I have done with students that I find very interesting and they find very interesting is to talk about that journey coming to this country, whether they came themselves as a new immigrant like I did. In my case, I drove across the border, or hearing about how their family maybe came. Like in my case, my parents are from England, and so they actually took a boat in 1950 across the Atlantic, and it was a horrible, horrible trip with two small children and a lot of seasickness. So it's always interesting to hear the different stories about how people arrived in this country. And for my students, it's very interesting for them to learn about how their grandparents maybe came to this country as well. So I'm very excited about meeting all of you and seeing your videos or other presentations, getting to know you in the next few weeks. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better. Bye. Thanks. Take care.